is September 13th, 2024. This is going to serve as our RA refresher training. There's a few things I want to cover in response to um, a little self audit that I did on some of our paperwork. I saw a bunch of errors, and so this is going to be our corrective action. You'll watch this video and then you'll sign an acknowledgement on iScout showing that you watched this and understood um, the different things that I'm going to talk about, and then I will be able to file away my corrective action on that training sign out sheet in with my paperwork, and everything should be pretty easy to improve going forward. So the few things that we're going to talk about, we're going to look at how we monitor RA inventory on the truck, and how we take total inventory and look at how we're decaying that inventory every day and that we're doing that correctly. I want to stress that we are not allowed to handle more than 50 millicurie at a time. Also stress that anytime you're on the road, on the highway with RA material, you are to have a shipping paper with your activity levels within arm's reach in the driving cab. I emailed a new decay and conversion table to all the engineers showing more columns broken down by 5 millicurie instead of just a 20 millicurie and a 40 millicurie column. So that should be a little easier. I did see some errors in our paperwork showing we converted millicurie to becquerel incorrectly and did not have the correct transport index either. So we'll quickly go over that as well, and then make sure we're doing the survey sheets correctly. The big issue that I saw when I went through, and I'll share my screen, and I think this will give you a better understanding of what I'm looking at and where the discrepancy is. So this is one of the spreadsheets that I keep up with weekly. So it shows how much millicuries we carried over from the previous week. Sometimes it's a little bit, sometimes it's a bunch. Ideally, we don't have a huge balance in the bunker carrying over. And then every shipment of RA that we get in is documented here. That's this millicurie that we got in, and then every single job that we do, we document here and how much we used. So I do not call you guys, text you guys every morning and say, how much millicurie did you use on this job? I don't want to do that and spend that time every morning calling everyone and asking, because one, it's a guess. You know, you are pouring a little vial of water, some drops into a funnel, and you're guessing about how much you put in. And so I kind of just take these and I say, okay, this was a normal oxy well, based on our inventory, we've got a decent inventory, so I'm going to go minus 6 or 7. I knew there was a deep Seminole San Andres disposal well, and we probably used 10 or 12, so I guessed 10. So if a inspector comes to the shop, asks where I'm getting these from, my answer is based on my knowledge of how hard the wells are to complete and what a good millicurie is for that job. So we're allowed to be off by a few millicurie here. 3 millicurie difference in how much RA you used, I would think is completely acceptable. But if we're 15 or 20 millicurie off on how much we used, that's probably an issue. But the main discrepancy that I'm seeing, and what an inspector will say, is he will come in and say, okay, show me July 12th, all the jobs that you did. So I go to this tab, and he could say from any year in the past 3 years, he could say, go to 2022, August 12th, let me see what you did. So I'll go here and he'll say, okay, bring up, Kenny's job on Hobbs 312-33, and you say that he used 6, and we'll pull up that survey and transfer sheet, and or just the survey sheet and the shipping sheet, and he'll want to check all that paperwork and see, okay, let's look over here, and Kenny checked out 15 millicurie on the 18th, and so he should have residual from the previous week, and we'll go back to the week of the 4th and see that shipment and go back and make sure Kenny is tracking his inventory correctly, and that as you can see, we're not checking anything back in ever to the bunker. We're leaving it on the trucks, and we also claim that the trucks are always staying out in the field. Otherwise, we would want to check material back into the bunker each day, which Snyder often does sometimes, but on all our stuff, we just keep it on our trucks. We keep it locked. It's the trucks stay out in the field. So I just went through random dates and found some mistakes, and I'll go through those. But I wanted to show you this because, you know, this is what an inspector will look at, and then we'll go back to the RA files and individual jobs and make sure they're jiving and matching. And they'll want to see, you know, correct paperwork for every single job here, but he'll just pick random ones. I was also told that the inspector is coming fairly soon. He came to inspect the wireline group, and he walked in and said, "Is this the wireline group?" Derek told him no, that's right across the yard over here, but he did say that he would be back very soon to inspect Renegade. But let me go through. I have a folder here with examples from each truck showing something I want to share with you on this meeting here. All right. So the error that I saw here, I believe, was an error on total truck inventory. So this is, let me get them in order here. 731, 729, 730. All right, so on the 29th, Kenny and Bo logged to Hobbswell, which is this one here. He had 28 millicurie, used 8, has 20 left. Perfectly fine. On the 30th, Kenny checked out 16 millicurie. It doesn't have a time, AM or PM, as to when he checked that out. So let's look at 212, which is the next day. He had 28 again and used 8 and has 20 left. So he had 28, used 8, have 20 left, 28, used 8, and had 20. So what's that telling? That's telling me we added 8 millicurie to the truck total, and the sign out sheet is showing we added 16. So if we look on the next day, we had 20 on the truck, took out 10, had 10 left. So nowhere on any of the possible days did we add, 16 millicurie to the total. So what an inspector is going to be looking at is there a error in the paperwork, or is there an error in what we're checking out versus what we're reporting we have on the truck? The inspector could say, okay, you had 28 and 8 and 20, and you added 8 the next day. Where did that 8 come from? Or you checked out this 16 in the afternoon, and the next day you only had 20 left. Where'd that 16 go? Devil's advocate, he'd argue, did you drop that on the highway? And you don't have that 16 anymore. So this example is just kind of incorrect total inventory on the truck. That was the most common error that I saw. Was we checked out some material, but it didn't reflect the total inventory on the truck, and that's kind of what one of the main things that they're gonna show. So on this job, this was Chance went back to the same well, 223, 221. So on my on that spreadsheet that I showed you, Chance didn't do a job between days. So this was the 21st and the 23rd. I don't have a record of a job that he performed on the 22nd. So on the 21st, he had 22 and a half, used 5, has 17 left, perfectly fine. The next time he came out, he only had 5, used 5 and 0. So we went from having 17 on the truck to the next job that we did. We should have had 15, 14, anywhere around there would have been acceptable. But we lost 10 millicurie somewhere. And my answer would be, we're not calculating truck inventory correct, because the bad answer is we lost 10 millicurie, or my paperwork here in the office is incorrect for where we're putting RA material. So from one day to the next, and you also notice it's two different riggers that was with him, so that could be part of it. But we lost, we went from 17 to 5 in 2 days. That's too much decay to be accurate. Oops. Skip 106 for now. So here's a good example. An inspector will be on the lookout for any time we get even close to 50 millicurie handling. And so his eyes are going to go straight to this 45 right here. So on 723, Cody checked out 45 millicurie for a couple Western midstream logs on the 25th and the 26th. So this is the 26th. This is the 23rd. Oops. 25th, 26th, and the job before that, which was Denver Unit 5427. So let's see what he had when he was done with that job. So I appreciate the effort to put a bunch of millicurie down on the paperwork so you don't go over 50. So if Daniel and Cody would have said 20, used 5, still have 15 left over, and then we checked out 45 the next day, there's a possibility we would have been over 50, and I would have had to explain, okay, we're not handling 50, they're in separate containers, but I'd rather not have to get into that. So either this is a little off, or we had more material than we should have. But on the 25th, we should have had 45 millicurie with 2 days of decay, maybe close to 40 millicurie on the truck, and we show we only have 10. So that is way far off of what we should have. This shows the 26th. We might have done this one first. Yeah, the 25th here. So we checked out 45 on the 23rd, on the 25th, we only had 20 on our total inventory, which is at least 20 millicurie off. So that's too far off from being accurate. So an inspector would say, do your guys in the field know how to, handle this material? Do they know how, are they trained properly? Is there an error on what the number of total CCs taken to location really means? This could be that they're tracking one bottle, but we need to be tracking total inventory and total CCs taken to location. So we went from 45 to 20 in 2 days, and that's way too much decay. And then we used it all by the end of the day. So we really disposed of 45 millicurie, 20 in each well. And I'm really only showing, that they used maybe 10 or 12 in each job. This was July 26th. So there they are. I was showing he used 12 in each job, and in order to have a zero inventory, you'd have to use probably 20 in each job, which I really don't think we're using 20, but we just got to do a better job of, looking at what our inventory is and putting it down on the paperwork accurately. And that should be a team effort. That should be the engineer and the rigger working together to get that accurate, not just the rigger doing the paperwork and not really knowing what the engineer may or may not have checked out. So Cadence truck, let's see if I can get this pulled up. So on the 3rd, Caden did a job on the AC 3-10, which was, the week before we got our inventory. So on July 3rd, he had 15 millicurie left over. His next job was on the 9th. So from the 3rd to the 9th is 6 days. So my guess, just off the top of my head, is he should still have 5 millicurie left over from this 15 when he goes out to do that job on the 9th. He also checked out 20 on the 8th. So that 20 will decay out to 18 or 19 plus 5 should be 23, 24. And he's showing 20. So 2 things that this 20 right here will tell an inspector. One, we're not thinking about decay because it's a day later and it's not 20 anymore. On the 9th, it's 19. Also, we are not taking into account our leftover from 6 days ago. So we should have had at least 5 millicurie from 6 days ago. This number should have been 24. Just putting checked out 20 yesterday, I've got 20 on the truck, really doesn't demonstrate, a knowledge of, tracking the inventory and the decay rates of everything. Just a reminder, we need to still be initialing right here on personnel surveys. The rigger and the engineer put your initials here showing that, you didn't contaminate your clothing or your body when you left location. I think I got one more to show. So 106, I looked at like 5 different weeks and I couldn't find a screw up. So I just wanted to show a good example of how you demonstrate that you're watching your inventory and monitoring decay. So on the 10th, Ricky checked out 31 millicurie. So this is the 11th, the 7th, and the 12th. So if we go in order here, on the 7th, we got a new shipment on the afternoon of the 7th. So this was right before we got new material. He only had 6 left and he used it all. So perfect. On the 11th, we should have 31 minus 31 millicurie that we checked out the day before. So on the 11th, we have 30, which is perfect. We decayed it by 1. That's fine. We use 6. We have 24 left over. On the 12th, we should have 24 less 1 millicurie of decay. We use 7. We have 16 left over. So that's perfect demonstration of, okay, we had none left over where we checked out 31. I'm going to decay it just a little bit and move over the 24 from the previous day, decay that to 23, and then move on with the next job the next day. I guess we're just missing initials here for our personnel surveys. It's also a good idea to put background on everything except for where we have the RA material. If you're keeping it at number 4, which is where we claim, we're keeping it on every truck. Number 4 should be a little bit hotter than background. If you're storing some iodine on your truck, it should be hotter when you do your survey at the back. So put 0.02 or 0.025, 0.015, something different at number 4 would be an accurate measure of a good survey of your truck. And of course, always never take a survey meter and put a survey meter on paperwork that is outside of calibration. Calibrated every 6 months. Just looking at this, it reminds me to check the meters because I have no idea in my mind when the last time they were calibrated. I just think about it once in a while and then check it. And then you guys do good at reminding me, hey, mine's coming up for calibration next month. Let's send in 5 or 6 meters to get it done. So we're all good. So this is the updated decay and conversion sheet that I sent out to all the engineers. You can print it off, hang it up in the logging cab. All I did was take, this by 5, and then you can see your decay rates in here. So if you have 17 millicurie that is 2 days old, it's going to be, 12 millicurie, it's going to be in between 10 and 15. If it's 3 days old, you can claim it's 10 millicurie, and you're well within the margin of error that we're allowed to have with estimating how much we put in the ejector and our decay rates. Your millicurie here that you're carrying on the truck needs to match the MBQ and the TI. I just saw a couple where like we had 35 on the truck, 35 millicurie on the truck, and we put like 370 MBQ, and that's got to be really close, and that one was not close. So your TI is your transport index. It's a measurement away from the vehicle as it's being transported. It's like millicurie, or it's an activity level like divided by 1,000, and then you get this decimal here. And as long as it's not over 0.99, we don't have to placard, which is going to communicate to a DOT officer that this vehicle that you're traveling is not placarded because your TI is less than 1. So just make sure you're decaying correctly, you're tracking your truck inventory correctly. If we do that, it's going to match my spreadsheet here for how I'm tracking every drop, every millicurie of RA material that comes in and goes out. I can give an inspector an inventory daily and what we have out in the field, what we've got in the bunker, everything. And that all has to be done, and it'll be more accurate if we're paying attention to the survey sheets that we're doing and working to get those more accurate. So let me think if there's anything else I need to touch on. Initial your survey sheets. Um, this spreadsheet right here should help you with calculating your decay rate and your millicurie on your truck. Also with putting your MBQ and transport index correctly on the truck. We're never gonna get over 50 millicurie, and that's all I can think of for now. I do have a trash can in the bunker that's taped up. It needs to stay in there for like 2 or 3 more months and decay out. Just don't open it up. Don't add anything to it, so I can say that it was sealed up um, for 10 half-lives, and I can put it in the dumpster and file the paperwork and do all that. After you watch this video, make sure and go on to iScout and sign the acknowledgement that I sent to everybody in the profile division, and acknowledge that you had this training and that we found some errors and here's how we're going to fix them. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for your work. See you later.